So we will be making 20 Zentangle patterns, and let's start with the materials. So here I have taken a calligraphy pen, Sharpies, as well as a black ballpoint pen, and these are something that are easily available. Of course, you can use micron pen, which is fine tipped, to get more details. So let's get started. Alright, so let's start. So our first box, I'm using a calligraphy pen and creating patterns. This would be also be known as curved lines. And here we're using diagonal. And here we get our first pattern. For the second pattern, we are going to make circles, and also we are going to make spirals. For our third pattern, we are going to make semicircles. And now we are going to be repetitive, fill in the gaps. And there we have the third pattern. So our fourth pattern was checkered patterns. So we divided the box into squares and added squares within those squares to create a pattern. Now for our fifth pattern, we are going to be making a spider web. So if you want, we can use a Sharpie and make these web thicker. And there we have our web. So we have a dual tip pen here, as well as this is the thin one, and this one is the thick one, and we are going to make zigzag patterns. And as we can see that every pen has its own speciality, thickness, and we can choose the choice of pen that we want to use depending upon what pattern are we trying to achieve and how much area that we plan to cover. So now we have made this, and now we are going to use our fine tip here, and if you want, you can add more lines to it or more zigzag patterns to it, but I will just keep it this much, and you can just modify it by adding more zigzag patterns of different varying thickness. Let's go on to our seventh pattern, And for this we will be um, creating circles and make flowers, and we will be preferably using a ballpoint pen. So we are going to spread the different circles around and make concentric circles. And now we are going to be making the flower petals. We can make rough petals. We don't have to be very precise or detailed, unless you really want it to be detailed and you want to use that pattern for a specific overall outcome. Now I'm going to just fill in the space. And here we have our 7th pattern. Now let's go on to our 8th pattern, and for our 8th pattern we are basically going to create a woven texture. So this is our 8th pattern. So we will be working on our 9th pattern, and as you can see that all throughout our pattern so far we have used different kind of lines, line being the basic element of design. And yeah, so for our 9th pattern we are going to be using straight lines but with different or varying thickness. Now we can use more lines if needed, but I'll stop at this, and this would be our 9th pattern. Now we can use more lines if needed, but I'll stop at this, and this would be our 9th pattern. So for our 10th pattern we are going to be basically crossing lines and creating patterns. There we have an 11th pattern. So this pattern is from a previous pattern of straight lines, and all we did was add dots to it, and that's our 11th pattern. Now we will be working on our 12th pattern, and this is again a repetition of our straight line pattern and some addition to it. So we are going to first make the thick lines. Now instead of the thin lines in between the thick lines, we are going to use them as straight or vertical lines. creating a pattern. And there we have our 12th pattern. So for our 13th pattern, we are going to make dashes. And using thin lines to creating thick and thin dashes, we have our 13th pattern. So we created circles, and we created different patterns inside, and now we are just filling in the gap, and we can leave it empty. And this is our 14th pattern. So we had a circle and then lines, like patterns, just straight lines, and we can use a spiral as well, but just the different edges and from straight lines and making like this. Now for our 15th pattern, we are going to be using semicircles, smaller semicircles, and creating a pattern. So we are going to use the semicircles both vertically and horizontally and create our patterns. And this is our 15th pattern. So for our 16th pattern, we are going to make big and small circles. Now we can use varying thickness, or we can use smaller sizes, medium size, and smaller, like, how small do you want to make the circles, again, is absolutely depending on your preference. So here we have our pattern, but we want to fill in the gaps, and we will fill in the gaps. And here we have our 16th pattern. So now we will be making our 17th pattern, and for this, again, we are going to divide our box into squares, and we are going to use fine lines like a checkered pattern. Instead of filling it up, we're going to use horizontal lines. And this is our 17th pattern. For our 18th pattern, we are going to be making again checkered box. Another box within a box. And just And there we have our 18th pattern. For our 19th pattern, we are going to be using triangles. And here we have our 19th pattern. Our last pattern is using circular lines as well as some straight and diagonal lines. So we are going to spread these circular patterns. And these are some they do look like certain might look like a little stick figures, but you can just improvise it by making the inner dot darker or making this outline thicker like this, or simply adding patterns like this. So we will be using these 20 Zentangle patterns in this cat outline. So this is the final look of our cat using Zentangle patterns. Hope you enjoyed the workshop and happy Zentangling.